of business experiments is slicing the data. So what we've got to make sure is when we get our data back, when we're setting up our experiments, if this is all data, we've got to make sure that we have the ability to carve it up into constituent parts. So for example, if you're running a test, you've run this test, and these are the results. Here's your consumers, and they've shown an increase in purchases of 20%. Let's dissect that data. Let's cut it up into male and female data and compare the two of these, because what this is going to do is give us added information on really what drives this. So the fifth rule is think out of the box. This is probably the hardest and the most valuable of the rules. A good example of this would be how Chegg ran an experiment on to validate whether their business model would work. So the purpose of their test was business model validation. And their hypothesis was that students would want to rent textbooks versus purchasing them. So they kind of developed like a Netflix book for student books. Now, they had very little money to run this test, so what they did was they marketed the book online. They took orders, and then so they could quickly and cheaply fulfill the supply chain, they passed that order on to Amazon, and Amazon shipped the order to the customer. Now, this meant they didn't have to get involved in heavy distribution. It was very easy and cheap to set up a website and a way to purchase, and they validated very quickly whether customers wanted to rent textbooks. Rule number 6 is one you've got to be slightly careful with so you don't go into information overload, but it's very important to measure everything that you could need. And it's related very much to that slice and dice rule that we had earlier on. So here's an example of a discount retailer, for example, a retailer who wanted to compare the effects of mailing out more catalogues to its customers at a higher frequency. And what it ended up finding was that one group received 12 catalogues in a year, and the other received 18, and they wanted to compare the effect on that on sales. And what they found is the group who received the 12 this group purchased on average $250 of products over the period, and the customers receiving more. So this is the control group, and the customers receiving the higher frequency of catalogs, purchased $300. So that was a positive effect of $50 for the experimental group, which actually was an increase in sales of 20%. But then what the retailer did was looked at the margin of this experimental group, and it actually found that the gross margin now had fallen by 5% per customer. And what they found was, by looking at the other data that they were measuring, was for some reason these customers were now purchasing the highly discounted products at a higher rate. So that ended up affecting margin here. Now, you know what they did with that data is, and what the marketing guys do with that data is another story, but it just illustrates the importance for measuring many different types of data in the experiment. Rule number 7, which is our final rule, involves looking for natural experiments, i.e. ones that occur without you really having to do anything. A good example of this was in the car industry, when GM and Ford and Chrysler offered, I don't know if you remember the promotion, when they offered consumers the employee discount rate on cars. So that was offered to everyone, to you, me. Now, interestingly enough, what they did was they measured sales before and sales after this offer. And what they found was that sales, yes, did go up after, which you would expect due to the to the promotion. But interestingly, if this was sales, what they also found, and this was prices after or during the experiment also went up. So are you hearing what we're saying here? People bought more, but prices were more expensive. And the reason behind that was the employee discount was actually less than the promotional discounts that the car companies were running prior to the introduction of the employee discount. But the interesting thing was the customers purchased more because they perceived that the employee discount was the best discount. I.e., they assumed that this was like that, and incorrectly so. But that was a natural experiment that just occurred without without being designed. So that's always something you should look for as well when you're looking to experiment around your business.